Hello literature connoisseurs. Let's begin chapter 11 of Tribulation Force. The chapter begins with Rayford and Chloe washing the dishes as they discuss an awkward conversation between Bruce and her. So rather than just asking Bruce if he sent the mysterious flowers, Chloe decided to try and play coy and ask him about his loneliness and how much they mean to each other. Rayford wonders if Bruce might reveal that he sent the flowers that night when they gather for the daily meeting. Chloe responds by stating that he would not do that in front of everyone but that they have to read between the lines. Not sure why no one can just ask him directly. All you have to do is say, "Hey, some flowers showed up and we have no idea whom they were from. Did you send us any flowers? Why the cloak and dagger nonsense?" Hasn't Chloe learned about jumping to conclusions from the ridiculousness of the first half of the book? The scene changes to Buck being in Bruce's office as they wait for Rayford and Chloe to arrive. Bruce starts off by asking permission to tell everyone there what is happening in everyone's life. He also tells everyone for the millionth time how impotent he is to be their leader and counselor. Which is why it was stupid of Rayford to think that Bruce was anything but lame in the last chapter. He could be trying to play it off as being humble, but in reality it is anything but. Bruce again starts in about his loneliness and how tired he is concerning his desire to travel to unit pockets of churches worldwide. While Bruce is whining about his life, like all good pastors do that are fully invested in God, Buck becomes impatient because he demands, in his own mind, to know if Bruce sent the flowers. Again, why can't anyone work up the nerve to just ask him? This is so stupid. Are the authors really trying to make fun of Christians? Are the authors secretly atheists and are trying to shame all Christians with their writings? It reminds me of an old joke I heard about a guy on a street corner. His face was red and he was shouting at anyone that walked by. He would say, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore." So someone walks up and asks him, "What are you angry about?" The guy replies, "I don't know, but if I think of something, I'll let you know." Bruce then throws in his 2 cents that both Buck and Rayford should accept the job offers. This throws things into an uproar as both reject the idea. Buck then throws in his 2 cents that Rayford should accept the job even though he himself refuses it. Bruce now throws around his opinion that everything seems clearer when seen through other eyes. From Mr. I'm so impotent to help anyone that suddenly he decided to become a chatterbox. Chloe then adds that she thinks they need to take the jobs in order to learn private information and advertise it. Buck objects about some stupid journalism integrity, but Chloe counters by saying he has a duty to reveal secrets to Christians. So basically Buck and Rayford are supposed to become moles to learn Nikolai's secrets and reveal them so that Christians are supposed to fight him. One would have to question this based on what their Bible says. This basically calls into question the integrity and honesty of Christians. So they decide to pray and Buck and Rayford are instructed to kneel before God by Bruce. Rayford whines to himself about how insignificant he feels when he has to kneel to pray. Odd that a loving God has to make his believers feel worthless. A more loving being builds up others to be on par with themselves. The difference between a leader and a boss is that a leader leads the way in doing the job and helping others with them to complete it. A boss sits back ordering others to do the job without helping in any way. In this case, if God was a loving God and all that, then it would be more like a leader than a boss. They lay on the floor and stretch themselves out and they pretend that they are Moses on holy ground before their sky daddies. Bruce moves on to Chloe and asks about her behavior on the previous day. She tells him the situation is settled, but, finally, she asks him about the flowers and they learn that he had not sent them. Bruce seems to enjoy their surprised looks. This again proves the foolishness of jumping to conclusions. It's still puzzling that this is how the authors are portraying the people of their churches. Why are their churches behaving in such a manner if their God leads them? Is God this insufferable? Does he act as childish as the members of his churches? If this is meant to be a teaching lesson, shouldn't this be taught from the pulpit and not in a book that will not get read because of how god-awful it's written? Skipping ahead past more drivel, Rayford suddenly wonders if Hattie had anything to do with the flowers. There is no real reason why he thinks she did it other than wondering if she was doing another insane practical joke. Which seems like more of the author's dumbing down Hattie. The scene skips to Rayford as he enters his boss's office. The owner of the company is there and Rayford takes offense that he is treating his boss's office as if it were his own. Because technically it is, so why is this so shocking? The owner tells Rayford that they are letting him go so that he can take the job. Rayford objects, but the owner tells him to not be a fool and just accept the job. Someone that works for Nikolai recommended him and he is the top pick as the pilot. Rayford knows it was Hattie because she is Nikolai's personal assistant. He still objects but is left with no option since he is unemployed if he doesn't take the job. The odd thing is that the owner then tells Rayford that he needs to take the job and get his daughter away from the person stalking her. Rayford asks what he is talking about and the owner mentions roses being sent to her. This alarms Rayford and questions how he knew about the flowers. The owner mumbles that someone told him. Rayford realizes that he has no future unless he submits and he finally agrees to take the job. Scene changes to Buck as he and his secretary in New York are listening to a newscast that the entire global currency that will be used worldwide will be the US dollar. Then the dollar gets taxed by 10% and that money is given to the United Nations. So if we ask, why does the whole world not have the same currency? The answer is that one of the biggest reasons is national sovereignty. Countries want to have control over their own economic policies, which includes their currency. A currency is more than just money, it represents a country's economy, its stability, and even its culture. If a person like Nikolai were to make a one-world currency, then even picking the US dollar would be a slap in the face of every other country. Skipping past a lot of useless banter here, we learn that a Rabbi Sion ben Judah is scheduled to do a presentation about his research into what the Jewish Messiah will be like. This leads to a discussion of who it might be and the secretary thinks it'll be Nikolai. Scene changes to Rayford as he gets a call from Chloe telling him that Nikolai wants to meet him in person. Rayford becomes grouchy, then Chloe tells him that a mysterious box of chocolates were sent to her. Remembering what his boss said, he orders her not to eat any of it. Chloe whines that he's being ridiculous, but rather than explain what happened with his boss, he keeps it secret. Scene changes to Buck as he works from his office in his condo. He suddenly feels alive like before the disappearances happened. The rest of the chapter is again mostly filler with the scene switching between Rayford and Buck. Rayford is flying home and listening to the news about how Nikolai has picked the United States to be in charge of most of his policies and mentions the distrust the other nations are feeling becomes apparent. At Buck's end he mostly flirts with Chloe and it gets sickeningly sweet. This ends chapter 11 of Childish Force. See you next time for chapter 12.